Procrastination. We all do it, right? So why is it seen as such a bad thing? I can honestly stand here and tell you that I procrastinate to a ridiculous level. There have been countless amounts of homework which have not been completed due to the little 5-second timer at the end of a Netflix episode. However, but why is it something that 1 out of 5 of us identify as doing and approximately 75% of university students admit to repeatedly engaging in so negative? Well, I'm here to convince you that procrastination is not such a terrible action. First of all, and most importantly, of course, I am definitely a victim of procrastination. It's amazing that I actually managed to pass my GCSEs with surprisingly decent grades, considering all this. However, despite the occasional telling off from teachers and disappointed looks from my mother, I'm still here. And I would even go as far as to say that procrastination has made me a better worker. So, what is procrastination? Well, according to my trusty friend Wikipedia, this is its definition: the action of unnecessarily and voluntarily delaying or postponing something, despite knowing that there will be negative consequences for doing so. Furthermore, according to my research, there are different types of procrastinators which you may identify as. Firstly, the performer. You will tend to force yourself to focus by shrinking the time that you have to tackle a task. If this is you, then there may be signs of perfectionism, but this mainly encourages your quick thinking skills. Then there's the self-deprecator, who, the opposite of lazy, is actually extra hard on yourselves when you don't complete a task. I would recommend steering clear from this type of procrastination, as you technically got yourself into that situation and now are just kind of feeling sorry for yourself. In German, it's similar to the expression beleidigte Leberwurst, which, thanks to Google Translate, means playing the offended liver sausage. But you are very good at evoking sympathy and coming up with quick excuses, a very valuable life lesson, in my opinion. The Novelty Seeker, according to the Insider magazine, suffers from shiny object syndrome. If this is you, then you might constantly be coming up with new projects to take on, get bored a week later, and then never finish your previous tasks. While this can be negative because you can't stick to one task, at the end of the day, you will never be bored due to your puppy-like interest in new activities. So you might have noticed that these slides are slightly inconsistent, and that's because the novelty seeker inside of me had came out and got a bit too distracted with all of the design technologies layouts on Microsoft PowerPoint. Finally, my personal favorite, the thrill seeker. This type of procrastinator enjoys the rush that comes with racing to meet deadlines and procrastinate in order to catalyze the experience, even taking pleasure in coming up with excuses last minute and getting away with it. Now, you may think that no one actually procrastinates like this, but I can tell you that definitely some people in this room will fall under that category, and even my brother does. And I mean, he even just told me that it's fun, literally walking into a room and just having to think quickly on your feet. It's just entertaining. Now, often I would agree with you, but this boy's actually graduating today and has an offer from Imperial to read engineering. So despite this counterproductive approach, it clearly works for some people. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't any negative effects concerning procrastination. Studies show that there are direct links to anxiety, low self-esteem, and even depression. The lack of sleep can also add to your fatigue during the day and a worsening cycle of procrastination, including negative thoughts like you'll never be good enough and you might as well give up, while wearing away your energy and self-worth. Therefore, if you are someone who suffers from these symptoms significantly, I suggest planning your day ahead of time, setting realistic goals for yourself, setting aside enough time to complete these tasks, and most importantly, keep your promises. Nevertheless, the majority of students still procrastinate. There is an estimation that 80 to 95% of students procrastinate at university, and the previously stated 75% consider themselves procrastinators, with almost 50% doing this problematically. This is often linked to the ambiguity in students concerning their starting point, the strange lack of clarity with their desired outcome, and a lack of urgency and understanding, and sometimes even a fear of failure. While this all sounds incredibly negative, do not fret, because procrastination tends to go away with age. decreasing from 75% in university students to 15 and 20% in adults who regularly procrastinate. And its highest demographic of procrastinators being from 14 to 29, thanks to a study done at the University of Calgary by a business professor called Piers Steele. Although research has not confirmed this, there is an assumption that older people are more aware that time is limited and are generally more motivated. In order to fully understand the process of procrastination, I decided to research the neurological symptoms behind this, and essentially found that it's a battle between the prefrontal cortex and the limbic system. The limbic system is one of the most dominating parts of the brain. So as the procrastination occurs, the limbic system prepares for fight or flight. However, as this structure also contains the pleasure center, therefore seeking the activity which would bring the most pleasure to the brain. On the other hand, the prefrontal cortex. This controls the planning and decision-making, but unfortunately for us, this part of the brain seems to be less developed and thus weaker. This will then lead to a win from the limbic system, paving the way for procrastination. But of course, our brains will inherently seek the most pleasurable option because as humans, we don't like to suffer. This lies with the evolutionary history following Darwin's logic. So, procrastination tends to then be a quick fix, allowing for the release of serotonin when we watch another episode or scroll through 5 more TikTok videos. While deep down everyone knows that procrastination might not be the best solution, how many of you would submit to doing this throughout your lives? I would strongly argue that procrastination does not link to academic failure because at the end of the day, you learn from your mistakes. So if this activity can lead to boosts of energy and a deeper focus on tasks due to the time pressure, then there may as well be benefits from procrastination, especially if so many people do it. It's like a guilty pleasure. You know you shouldn't do it, but you just can't seem to help yourself. Therefore, the problem does not lie with procrastination, but with your inability to recognize that you are one. Through the process of education, you learn from your mistakes and find the best study method for you. So, as long as you're not causing sleepless nights, anxiety, or depression, and then you seem to have unproblematically tackled procrastination. If there is one thing, though, that you should take away from this talk, please be aware of procrastination while keeping an eye out for the negatives. But remember that 1 out of 5 of us do procrastinate constantly. So that is entirely okay, but if you don't, just don't look down on the other people who do. So thank you very much. And procrastinators unite.